which failed to take the timely and effective measures have paid hefty prices, as you all have observed. However, Turkey has managed to continue with the measures it has taken, and it is and it has been only possible thanks to the self-giving and resistance of our people. And we know many lose patience as this process prolongs. But we hope that we will not need such large-scale measures in the forthcoming periods. However, we have to acknowledge the fact that for a certain period in the upcoming months, we have to abide by the rules. I would like to thank to all the administrative institutions, law enforcement bodies, gendarmerie, all voluntary institutions, NGOs, and all who took responsibility during this challenging time. I would like to thank to them personally and on behalf of my nation. Our nation observed these closely. And still there are those who make uproars why we don't take measures. But when the measures are put in place, there are some who say, why do you restrict people? There are such people all the time. However, what these people of such a mindset do is indeed attacking the lives, the safety, security of our people, and it is disrespect to the lives of our people and the services our people deliver. There are some who never take responsibility but only fool around, and we know what their calculations or accounts or thoughts are. But we never care for such people. We only care for the health of our people, their welfare, prosperity, their income, their accommodation, and whatnot. And the rest is not to care for. And the rest is only the effort of those who try to turn this pandemic into a source of interest for themselves to take. But we know very clearly what we do, what we have done. I would like to thank to each and every member of my nation for what they have done so far since the beginning of this pandemic. With God's grace and our nation's help and support, we will leave these days behind and we will see a better future awaiting us on the horizon. My great nation, every step we take is based on the principle, make the people live so the state lives on. This is how we acted so far. While fighting the pandemic, we have addressed the needs in the healthcare sector, and this goes the same for agriculture, logistics, trade, and many other fields. And we have worked hard in order to ensure there's no challenge or problem coming our way. We have allocated financial assistance, support programs, and also many deferrals in payments such as taxes or premiums. Other than those steps, we have offered many facilitation processes for our citizens, such as deferrals or postponements of installments or due dates to be paid. This goes the same for our tourism sector. In order to make sure that our tourism sector stands tall and sound, we have tried our best in our power. We have provided grants for many sections of this society. The expenditure we made from the central government budget stands at 79 billion liras as of now. And this figure will probably stand at 104 billion liras by the end of the year. medication, medical supplies, additional payments or financial assistance or subsidiaries or credit lines for many sectors of the field and many sections of the societies have been possible and will be possible. And we have increased the salary of the pensioners up to a minimum of 1,500 per month. Of course, there are some who do disseminate misinformation in the conventional media. Unfortunately, such examples of misinformation do circulate, and we observe such people, but such people do not have any shame. Now I'm providing you with some figures. Rental support for the small shop owners, for example. 1.2 million citizens benefited from that. And when it comes to tax reduction, we know that the state has
kısa çalışma ödeneğinden 3.768.000, işsizlik ödeneğinden
given up on $26 billion of taxes to be paid. And millions of citizens also benefited from many different types of financial assistance, which is worth of 55 billion liras. And by the end of next month, it will increase up to 67 billion, and more than 500,000 households have so far been provided with direct cash financial assistance. And the total amount of financial assistance in cash has been 134 billion. However, by the end of June, it will be standing at a figure of 180 billion liras. For SMEs, for small shop owners or craftsmen, and many others, we have provided many credit lines and facilitated the credit or loan formalities through the credit foundation. Many agriculturists, many small shop owners benefited from such credit lines, which are worth of 350 billion liras. Taxpayers and small shop owners, business owners also have had a chance to restructure their taxes or other payments to be made. This goes the same for debt deferrals, and this figure has been ever increasing. This way, from the beginning of the pandemic, we have so far allocated totally a financial source of 361 billion liras. And now I would like to give you good news for our shop owners. This is a grant program, and it addresses those who had to pause their businesses due to the pandemic. We aim to help our small shop owners in two groups. In the first group, we have small shop owners of cafes, restaurants, and also school dorms, cafeterias, stationaries, internet cafes, amusement parks, and some similar areas. The number of such businesses is around 235,000. And 5,000 liras of grant to be paid once will be possible. And the second group is for the repairers or street vendors, sanitary sanitary business owners, dry cleaners, car washers, toy producers, cosmetic companies, stores, and also welding stores, hardware shops, or glassware shops. So such places will be in the second tier, second group. And tailors, barbers, taxi drivers, bus or minibus drivers, or open market standers will be included into this group, and 3,000 lira grant will be paid to the second group of shop owners, business owners. So this way we will be allocating more than 4.6 billion liras of grant to different groups of business owners. For the big companies and exporters, importers, we are also taking a new step which will facilitate the formalities as regards credit lines they are to take. So these these financial assistance programs hopefully will be auspicious for our people. We also have some good news to share with our farmers. As known, during the month of Ramadan, 180,000 tons of potatoes and onions were procured from our farmers and distributed to our citizens. And a special type of rice will be also distributed, and a high amount has been now warehoused in our local administrations. And due to the conditions of the pandemic and weather conditions, it seems that there will be some decrease in the yield. However, when it comes to grains and legumes, our country has no challenge to be self-sufficient, and we will have no difficulty in this regard. Farmers who have been negatively affected by the drought will also have the chance to defer, to postpone their payments for the credits they have been currently using. When it comes to the 2021 procurement prices, it is as follows. Last year, per ton, wheat price was 1,600 per ton. When it comes to barley, it will go up to 1,750. When it comes to legumes, for red lentil, it will be 5,000. For green lentil, it will be 4,500, and for chickpeas, it is 4,750. When it comes to per ton grains, 275. When it comes to legumes, 910 liras of financial assistance will be provided so that we support our producers. The procurement prices by the state authorities will be the baseline prices, and different pricing by the procurers will not be possible. I also would like to share the procurement prices for the tea producers. Last year, the fresh tea prices per kilo was 3.27, and with the financial assistance, it was 3.4. 752,000 tons of tea was procured, and with the financial assistance, totally 2.7 billion liras of payment was made. And for this year, for fresh tea, the price will be 3.87, and with the financial assistance, it will go up to 4 liras per kilo. What we ask our farmers is for them to harvest, plow, and produce all inches of their lands. So we will offer the assistance, the support, and our farmers will exert efforts, and God will also grace us with productivity. And I hope that these news will be auspicious. Those initiatives will bring about the best for our people and our producers. As seen throughout the history of our republic, such figures are the first of their kind, and we will continue to be with our people as we have stood with them so far. But of course, haven't there been some who faced challenges? Yes, of course, maybe. However, when we make a comparison, we see that Turkey is self-sufficient for its citizens and for producers, and it is a reality that Turkey offers the highest amounts of financial assistance to its citizens, and it is not us who say so or claim so, but international organizations say so. But despite all, if there are some citizens who feel deprived, it is our duty but to convey our apologies and ask for their blessing. And of course, those who do not know what asking for the blessing of others is, it doesn't mean anything. They would not understand, but it's our job to ask for our people's blessings. If we have had any shortcoming, any wrongdoing, only our nation will hold us accountable. In every post throughout my life as the mayor, the prime minister, and the president of the country, I only was engaged in politics of service and great work. In each inch of our villages, districts, cities, we have the great works of our politics. And all 84 million of our people benefited from our services and great works. However, there are those who only put forward politics of lies and manipulation against our work in justice, law enforcement, transportation, energy, agriculture, and in any field that you might think of. If we have managed to take these steps, then we will be at ease. And if we have such works all across our country, in all corners of our country, then it means we are at ease and we feel confident. If Turkey had been administrated with such an understanding in the past decades, Turkey would now have been in the top of the developed countries, not in the developing ones. Over the past 19 years, we have seen that there were many shortcomings, many mistakes for us to fix and correct, and we dealt with those. But on the other hand, we prepared our country for our future, and we have shared those as our visions for 2023 and 2053, and we have received the confirmation from our people in all elections, and all results are coming out of the ballot boxes. The work of politics, the politics of work, great works and services, indeed are the trademarks of Turkey's current politics. But the social engineering was the trademark of the past politics. However, there are those who try to revitalize such politics. Those who are void of offering anything to our nation now engage in acts to bring the agenda of our country into vicious circles. However, the purpose of such heinous acts will fail the moment we leave the pandemic days behind, and the act is only the path that would take us into the future. There were those who tried to diverge our country with Gezi Park protests. In December 17 to 25, they used the traitors in the law enforcement and the military, but they again failed. There were those who tried to utilize PKK and Daesh terrorist organizations and shed the blood of many, and tried their best to make our country kneel. However, they failed again. There were those who tried to build terror corridors by our southern borders and attack our country, but we have upset, frustrated all those plans thanks to the operations we launched, one after the other. Using some declarations by external forces and by the orders or instructions of some external parties, there were some who tried their best, but we have stopped them with our resolute stance. There were those who had the habit of darkening the future of our country with military coups. However, we gave the best response with the glorious July the 15th resistance. And now we are exerting efforts and launching operations to ensure that the terrorist organizations will never be able to operate in and outside our quarters. And a Claw Eagle operation, we have had martyrs, and I pray for the mercy of God on their souls and convey my condolences to their beloved and families. And I also would like to now share some good news with my nation. The National Intelligence Agency has for a long time been conducting operations. They have spotted the location of Sofi Nurettin, the operators of Syrian operations of PKK, and with the operations we have conducted, he has been neutralized. One of the top leaders of PKK, this Syrian origin terrorist, for a long time was responsible for the armed branches of the would-be organization, and then he led the operations in Syria for a long time. And he is the perpetrator, this terrorist is the perpetrator of many operations launched against Turkey, and during the Euphrates Shield operation and also the Olive Branch operation, he was responsible for many attacks against our country. During Gara operations, he was one of the operators who gave the instructions for the killing of 13 of our soldiers. The National Intelligence Agency and Turkish armed forces cooperated and launched an operation and neutralized Sofi Nurettin. PKK and YPG now again very obviously and undeniably proven to be together. PYD and PKK leaders who take refuge in Syria, all of them will be neutralized and our operations will continue until so. This leader of such a terrorist organization was neutralized, and I would like to congratulate all the intelligence officers and armed forces officers for having neutralized such a person, and I congratulate them and thank to them wholeheartedly. Those who target the unity of our country, the existence of our nation, will face this same fate. I would like to reiterate in my address to my nation now. On the other hand, 19 years ago, when we took the office, one of the main jobs we did was to address all the problems and ensure that peace prevailed in all corners of our country where terrorist organizations in the past were running rampant and looming large. So those who sided with the terrorists in the past are now looking for some other ways. There are those who wanted Turkey to fall into the pitches of military coups or tutelage. Those internal and external engineers of political construction, we have saved our nation from their claws, and we will be upsetting all other plans as such. But the upsetting thing is that there are some who are still sinking so much low and are so much disgraceful to still have their hopes on such terrorist organizations. There are some who refrain, avoid condemning terrorist organizations, and they act and walk with terrorist organizations. However, I would like to remind one fact. Criminal gangs are like venomous snakes, like the terrorist organizations are. If you go into the same sack with them, then you consent to what will come your way later on. However, we abide by democracy, law, justice, and the responsibilities we have on our shoulders coming from our civilization and history, and we will continue to struggle for that and walk towards our targets set before. No matter what they do, no matter methods they practice, the diseases of old Turkey will not come back, and such people will never cover mileage, and they will fail, and they will never be able to stop the rise of a strong Turkey. Distinguished citizens of our great country, we also are very saddened because of the news coming from Palestine. Unfortunately, some still do utter words such as, what is it in Palestine for us? Or what is it to us? These are some words of lethargy. However, we know that Palestine is one of the regions, one of the holiest and the oldest lands of humanity, from the prophet David to Moses to our prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Many prophets, many leaders lived on these lands. Our prophet, peace be upon him, also ascended into the skies, where the Al-Aqsa was. Most important sanctuaries, churches of Christianity, are, for example, within the borders of Jerusalem. When Jerusalem was conquered, the conqueror never touched the churches of the Christians, and he built mosques next to them. The courtyard of Al-Aqsa, the first courtyard of Al-Aqsa, was named after the prayer that took in congregation after Yavuz Sultan Selim conquered the place. With its structures, many monuments, artworks, we see the reflections of our ancestry. And on the rock where our prophet, peace be upon him, ascended into the skies, we have the monuments of our ancestry, and many monuments, and we have renovated those. Our forebearers that own up to all those areas, all those holy lands, to recreate, to restore, to restructure. Our ancestors worked hard, on our purpose is to work in the same path. In the Dardanelles, the Ottoman Empire grew victorious, and in 1917, had difficulties to endure the challenges due to many other conflicts going on. However, the tired Ottoman army, tired of the wars, sent more than 12,000 soldiers, troops, and had to withdraw after the third attack of the enemy. In those wars, in contrast to the allegations, many Palestinian Arabs did not side with the enemy, but they resisted with us. And when we withdrew from Jerusalem, we never have left it alone. In 1971, a late journalist, during his visit to Jerusalem, said that he saw the Ottoman turban and robes on an old man. He runs into this old man, this journalist, and he greets him in Turkish. And this person had a smile immediately on his face and replied, "Alaykum salam, my son." And this journalist learns the true story of this person standing in front of him. From 1919, December, his story comes. He was one of the troops sent to Jerusalem back in day from the Ottoman Empire. And Hassan from Iğdır then on never left Al-Aqsa. And this memory of Hassan, Captain Hassan, even alone shows that we have to defend Jerusalem with all we have at hand. And now, today, we have seen the signature by Biden, a serious one, for the ratification on weapon supply to Israel. 150,000 weapons, a serious number. So when it comes to talk, they talk about this arming or demilitarization. However, Mr. Biden, in the so-called Armenian genocide, you stood with the Armenians. And now, very seriously, in the face of this disproportionate attack, and in this event that caused the lives of tens of people, you make history, unfortunately, with your bloody hands. And you have made us say so, but we will not stand as mere bystanders in the face of those. And I would like to once again state, we, 84 million of this country, will continue with our Jerusalem watch. We have done so, and we will. The lands of Palestine are now being washed, so to speak, with suffering, blood, and pain. And you give way to that. By the Palestinians, this is called Al-Nakba, the day of disaster, the day that took place in 1940. The unfairness, injustice, and theft on these lands continue from that day on. This persecution, which never ceased, was followed with displacement of Palestinians and many massacres they had to endure. Of course, some internal conflicts among the Palestinians and as well the perspectives of certain Arab countries had a share in the current status. But no matter what, our responsibility is to stand with the oppressed and care for their rights. After the 1937 war, Israel ignored the United Nations. 1967, Israel ignored the UN resolutions. And in between 1948 to 1967, more than 3.5 million Palestinians were displaced, and they were only then refugees. Tens of defenseless civilian Palestinians were bloodthirstily slaughtered, and it was still not enough to make the world act to stop Israel. In the face of such Israeli attacks, the Palestinian people try their best to protect their homes, their lands, and their territories with civil disobedience, and we have always stood with them, and we will continue to stand with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Those who consider Zionism as a method continue to turn this into a machine of terrorism. Fanatics during the peace talks blamed their own prime minister for they said, compromised on their cause, and they have even took it so far to assassinate him. Yes, a Jewish prime minister once told me, he said, when I was serving as a general, the best thing I enjoyed, the thing I enjoyed the most was killing the Palestinians, he said. And he said it to me personally, the prime minister of the country, during his official visit as a general. So this is what they have in their nature. This is what they enjoy. There are those who suggest the people of Palestinians look for the way of democracy or paths of democracy. However, they leave the Palestinians alone all the time, and they have shown their hypocrisy time and time again. And all of them come from terrorism. All of them were brought up in the midst of terrorism. And the current one, he is the same. Since 2008, Israel attacked Gaza and many Palestinian territories, and in the international community this was not reacted sufficiently. An international aid organization that departed from our country was attacked in international waters, and Israel once again showed this respect and disregard international rules and law. And they are as inhumane as killing children at the ages of 5 or 6. They are murderers. Such murderers to kill women, such murderers to kill old men and women and children. And there are some who support them. There are some who feed on the same waters who support them. In 2010, at the United Nations General Security Council, there was a resolution made for Israel to stop its illegal occupation. However, it did not recognize that resolution and effective measures still haven't been taken to stop this rogue, this terrorist state. By the end of 2010, also, they declared that they recognized Jerusalem as their capital, and such pirate steps made that rogue state even more thirsty for more blood. And Israel, in every Ramadan, has turned it into a habit to make massacres and attack. And in 2021, this year, again, they did the same. They, on one hand, bombarded these innocent civilians in Gaza. They attacked a giant building where the press members were. And again, it is this terrorist state, Israel. And Israel never stops using the resistance of the civilians as an excuse for their terrorism. Tens of innocent children, hundreds of innocent civilians, tens of thousands of Palestinian families displaced are neglected, and some do use the missiles the barrage sent into Tel Aviv as an excuse. How many missiles or fires they have sent into Tel Aviv? Just explain that. However, you, on the other hand, use disproportionate power. You are bombarding Gaza with your warcrafts. Does Gaza have warcrafts? No. But you have numerous of them, and you hit Gaza with those. And who are you going to deceive with what? Right now, I would like to make a call on the whole world from Ankara. I would like to remind one fact. The Palestinian children are dying under bombs, and those who are not interested in the killings of Palestinians under such bombs are being terrified in the face of the screams by the Palestinian children as some missiles are sent into the other side. So, not the killers of women, children, or old should be appreciated, but their protectors should be appreciated. And there are some who define what the Palestinians do in their defense as terrorism. Those who support Israel openly are indeed sowing the seeds of calamities that will come their way tomorrow. I make a call on Europe from here again to those who act like their friends to us when the time is right. And I would like to remind them one thing. The Austrian state that hoisted the Israeli flag on their Prime Minister's office building. Hoisting such a flag means equalizing yourself with such a terrorist state. And Israel is trying to make the Muslims pay price. And those who support what Israel does in Palestine also share the same sin and the crime committed against humanity. And they will always be remembered with this black stain in history. Just like in Cyprus, Turkey is siding with the idea of a two-state solution on Palestinian lands on the basis of a 1967 agreement. Palestine, with the capital of Jerusalem, should be established, and on each and every platform we will continue to exert all efforts necessary. And at this point, we believe there is a need for a separate regulation about Jerusalem. The Christian, the Muslim, the Jew have their indispensable religious symbols housed in Jerusalem. And for peace to prevail permanently in Jerusalem, everyone has to stand united. Yesterday, I had a phone call with the Pope Francis, and I shared our thoughts with the leader of the Christian world yesterday. During the era of the Ottoman Empire, all of different religions had the freedom to practice their faith, and by taking inspiration from them, we make a proposal. The leaders, the representatives of all three religions should be in a commission, and a commission to be established is a solution. Otherwise, ensuring peace in such a holy and ancient old city doesn't seem possible. All attacks against Al-Aqsa is like a grenade ignited. The bombs fired in Jerusalem now are observable, and there are many examples of blood shed, and many bombs fired, many killed and slaughtered and massacred. So the only way to restore peace is to establish a new status in Cyprus. One of the reasons for the establishment of OIC and all other international organizations, including the United Nations, all of them, I would like to make a call on all of them to act urgently for Cyprus. The United Nations General Assembly, which will convene on Thursday, hopefully will be the mark of a significant and concrete step taken towards that direction. Turkey will also participate to that, and we hope a concrete result, a concrete outcome will be produced out of that. We should help those people being displaced, being killed and slaughtered, and we expect all to show the sensitivity they would to the birds flying in the sky, to the trees on the street, at least that much of sensitivity to the people of Palestine. And we will be supporting all in our power politically and militarily, I would like to state. And I would like to once again say that this nation is ours, this humanity is ours, this civilization is ours. And we have never compromised on our past and our civilization. We will embrace, we will own up to what has been left to us from the past, and we will continue to do so. Those who have never taken their share of humanity, who have no knowledge of being a part of a community or an ummah, will probably end in the deep, dark hole of dissension at the end, and eventually, I would like to say one more time. And I wish you all a good day. Thank you very much. Stay in health.